Courtland Sutton is one of the 30 draft prospects that's set to visit Philadelphia. He's visiting Philadelphia on Tuesday, which is the day we're recording, but we're probably going to release this on Wednesday. So Brent Albert is here. I am Adrian Fedque. Probably the most explosive wide receiver that we're going to look at out of all the guys that we're going to scout.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say he is the height, weight, speed guy, right? He's the guy that goes into the combine and does everything, and everyone turns their head and says, oh, this is a dude. And he has all that abilities. Height, weight, speed, looks really great. He's going to make a lot of flashy catches, and we're going to start off the bat with one of those.
Yeah, flashy catches. First three clips are flashy catches. So the first one, your jaw's going to drop. This is Odell Beckham. It's a one-handed catch, basically, and this is sexy as hell.
Yeah, this is just looking at great mitts here. We're going to see him here on the corner route. And kind of come up, sit, go up. Now go attack the ball with that big hand of yours and pull it in. I mean, that's just sweet, man. That's what you look at when you make highlight tapes right here.
Yeah, the fluidity, the agility, just snag that ball with one hand. That's a thing of beauty.
And he's a big boy. I mean, he's a 6'4" receiver, and he has almost a 40-inch vert too, so he's able to go up and get that.
When you make things look easy, that's when you know you're good.
Big time.
So next thing you're going to see, diving catch over the middle, another beautiful play.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We're going to talk about Christian Kirk, and he's in the same situation as Anthony Miller as well as Sutton. These guys can get schemed open because they play that air raid, wide open, throw the ball over the field option, but his ability to track the ball is very impressive. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll get into some of that discussion later because, some of those air raid offenses, kind of a limited route tree.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing. This is getting high pointing the ball, getting both of his feet in bounds. This is a beautiful catch as well. So quarterback's backpedaling. He goes up and snags that over the head of the defender. That is awesome. Look how high he goes.
It's awesome, man. And then the ability to bring the feet in too. I mean, this is what you talk about when you make the comparison to Alshon Jeffries. It's these type of clips that we just showed you is why you would say, okay, I see the comparison.
Woo! Yeah, full hand extension, high points the ball. That cornerback's got no shot.
Not at all. And, it's one thing to high point the ball, but another thing when you watch his clips, his elbows aren't bent. They're fully extended. So that means he literally is getting every inch of his body up there. This is a massive thing to do. When you're a big body receiver, you got to be able to use every inch. Sutton certainly does that.
All right, so you talked about him being a big boy, playing with some physicality. We're about to look at that. 6'4", 218 pounds. And he just bullies defensive backs.
He does. He is a man amongst boys, and he's not afraid to get his nose dirty here too. Now, this is what you're going to see here, guys. This is just you going up, getting the football, and now being more physical at the point of attack. This reminds me a lot of like what LaQuan Treadwell was at Ole Miss. The guys that were hanging all over him, and he's just so physically strong to be able to pull guys in.
Yeah, so this is one example of that here. Boxes out the defender, makes the catch. And then the same kind of deal on the next clip after this one.
Yeah, very, very physical receiver. Very, very good in contested situations here. He's not necessarily going to be a guy who's going to completely burn people, but he's going to be the guy who's going to win that 50-50 ball. It's really more like 60-40, very similar to Alshon Jeffrey, T.O., guys like that. That's kind of his mold, not necessarily the Randy Moss type who could just run away from everyone like a deer.
All right, he's a big boy. He plays with physicality. He's also not afraid to make a catch over the middle. So safety lurking, and he's snagging that.
And you shouldn't be afraid. When you're 6'4", 218, you're bigger than just about any defensive back you're going to go against. So the one thing I will give him, he certainly does make those contested catches look pretty easy.
Yeah, and he does a good job of pulling that ball in, so he doesn't let that safety pry that ball free when he makes the hit.
Absolutely, Adrian. Very, very good point.
Look at me. I'm playing the role of Brendan now.
Love it.
So he's a big boy. He's also a long strider, and he's got some ability after the catch. We're going to look at that on this clip.
This is one of those clips here where you're going to see every inch of that long 6'4" strain, boom, boom, boom. He's getting about 5 yards in 1 to 2 steps. And, I mean, when he gets that head of momentum going, he's great. Now, he's one of those guys, he's not super quick, but when he gets that full stride really ramped up and he's able to make one guy miss, those 2 to 3 steps, that's 7 yards.
Yeah, puts his foot in the ground here, makes the safety miss, gets a nice initial block, and there he goes. All right, so we're also going to see examples of him blocking. I mean, this is him in the middle of the field. Look at what he's doing there. Not, like we saw some of the other receivers and not as much willing blockers, but Courtland Sutton, not afraid to put his hands in the, not afraid to get dirty, so to speak.
Absolutely. You're going to see him, guys. He's going to be in this clip in the bottom of the slot here, and he's going to get matched up against, a will backer, a safety, and these are going to be more physical guys. And you know what? He does an awesome job blocking here. Also, thing you don't realize, guys, it's so much harder to block in the middle of the field than it is on the edges, because on the edges, you can angle a guy towards the sideline so he's no chance. But in the middle of the field, he has a two-way go as a defender. Sutton is just straight up bullying this dude for about 20 yards, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. All right, so we kind of brought it up earlier, kind of a limited route tree at SMU, and we're going to see an example here. What didn't you like about this sluggo?
So when we look at this sluggo route, guys, what you're going to want to see is you want your hips to flip one way, plant on that right foot, and then flip quickly the other way. So you really want it to be kind of like a true like Z-like bend. Look at his hips here. His hips really pretty much never change. His hips are pretty much consistent. Good defensive backs, they're not going to bite on that. That's not enough for me to sell. For me just to do this and then do this, that's not enough for me to sell. What you need is you need those hips to get tight and then hips to get tight again. And they're really kind of rounded here. It's too much like an S. This really doesn't buy. I mean, he's a defensive back. I'm not buying what you're selling here.
Yeah. So there you go. Ball's overthrown. I mean, he gets separation, but, I mean, this is what happens sometimes when you face – well, TCU is not lesser competition per se, but when you're facing an NFL defensive back, this isn't going to work.
No, not at all. The DBs, they're not buying this. Good DBs, they're not buying that.
Yeah. All right, so one more kind of example, a deep in route, and you wanted to see him take one less step when he breaks in here.
Yeah, and you have a big frame like Sutton does here at the top of the screen. You want to be able to get as much ground as you can in as few steps. Now, he's going to plant here on his right foot, and he kind of chops it there. That little extra chop, I know it sounds small, guys, but you know what? When you're 6'4", use your stride. Look up here at the top of the screen. You want to see him plant hard of his right foot now. And instead, he kind of takes that left foot, plants it, puts it down, and that turns that in route to be more rounded versus more crisp. You like to see him plant that hard right foot and then be able to throw that left elbow, throw that left foot to get a sharp 90-degree angle to get right down the line of scrimmage.
The funny thing about this play, it actually resulted into a touchdown. But this is what you do when you scout tape. You look at
the thing is you have to understand here, guys, when you watch tape, whether it's watching high school tape as a college coach, watching middle school tape as a high school coach, watching college tape as an NFL coach, you are not watching tape to determine if the player made the clip in that game. Because no shit. Of course, you're only going to, the player's only going to make a highlight tape of his best stuff. What you're looking at isn't did he score, did he make the catch. What you're looking at is his technique going to allow him to make the catch, to score on the next level.
Yeah, that's very true. Because you do that stuff where high school kids, they send you tape, and it's always going to be their best stuff. So you've really got to critique it and get to the nitty-gritty of it.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing, too, about Sutton, if we want to look at negatives, almost all of his plays have been made in congestion, not necessarily in a lot of open space. So SMU is one of those teams, as you talked about, Adrian, like a Texas Tech, not necessarily going to give you a full route tree as a receiver. They're going to ask you, hey, master these 6 routes, and that's pretty much what we're going to ask you to do. Okay, fine. If you're, one of those coach purists, and you're like, I want my receivers to run everything, then maybe you don't love Sutton for that reason. The other thing I will say, he struggled at separation. I had a big minus on Sutton that he didn't do the Senior Bowl. I really would have liked him to do something like that to see his ability to separate on the next level. He didn't show his ability to separate in the American Conference. I would have loved to see him show his ability to separate against Senior Bowl competition. Had a great combine because he's certainly an athletic freak, but I would have loved to see him at that Senior Bowl.
That's a great point because you see those one-on-one DB drills. I mean, this is the American Conference. This is North Texas. Well, North Texas, I think, is in Conference USA. Yep. But, I mean, some of these teams that are in the American, this isn't the SEC. This isn't the Big Ten. So half of your games are against lesser competition that you're not even going to see close to Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, you take away Mike Hughes, there's not a single defensive back that's going to be a top three round pick coming from the American Conference. So he's certainly not playing in that competition. That's why a Senior Bowl thing, that would have been really big for him. Now, the flip side is you can't help but wonder, did he intentionally not do the Senior Bowl because he thought this might actually hurt me?
Yeah. Yeah. See, when I'm looking at a player, I want you to participate in everything. Because when you don't participate, that's what that tells me, that you're a little bit scared. You're not a competitor. And that's not what I want to see.
And that's a completely fair thought process, Adrian. But you know what? This is what agents do. The agents look at the chess pieces. They look at your ability and they say, hey, we are going to do things that's going to maximize your ability and put you in the best light. So, for example, he went to the combine, did every drill, looked pretty good in every drill too, but didn't do the Senior Bowl. So that kind of is a bit of a red flag to me to say, all right, you probably know you're not really great at separating.
Yeah, you're purposely trying to hide a flaw.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't like it. Even if you don't do well, go and show you can do it, because if you didn't want to do it, then that tells me you're not good at it.
That's fair. That's totally fair, Adrian.
Well, that's kind of the way I look at it. All right, so last thing here, he kind of makes a catch with his body. He does tend to let the ball come to his body at times, so we're going to look at an example of that.
Here's the thing. I mean, I get so frustrated, right? Like, I'm a sub 6 foot former receiver, former defensive back myself. If I was 6'4", man, I would be so excited to get the ball and pull it over people's heads every single time. I'd like to see him do a little bit better of a job of catching with his elbows fully extended, like we saw in an earlier clip. As you can see here, kind of catch this ball more against his body. Is it a consistent thing? Not necessarily, but you know what? It's also not consistent that he catches the ball with those elbows fully extended. This is the difference, guys, between whether you make a comparison to Alshon Jeffrey or you make a comparison to Akon Treadwell. So there's a big kind of discrepancy there. When you're these big possession receivers, sure, you absolutely could be successful in the NFL, but you also could not be. Look at a guy like Dez Bryant. Now that he's really taken a step back in his speed, and Dez was never a burner, Dez has become an average receiver in the NFL.
Because this is North Texas. Again, going back to this. So if you're, say, a more physical corner and you're riding the hip and you're able to high point this a little bit better, when you're going at the ball like that, you're not making that catch. You have to get outstretched. You have to high point it, and you talk about it. Don't bend the elbows. Get outstretched. And that's how you make the catch. If you go at it like this, that's not a touchdown in the NFL.
Sutton's upside is through the roof. I mean, that's the thing. It's very easy to get excited about him. I mean, I could argue he might have the highest upside of any receiver in this draft class. And you know what? There's not a lot of great receivers in this draft class, too. Yeah. I think Sutton, ultimately, he probably goes 20 to 40 in that range.
Yeah. And I can see him potentially going to Philadelphia because of the fit. I mean, he's kind of a deep threat, throw the ball deep. That's kind of what they're looking for. Although there is a similarity to Alshon Jeffrey. And we saw them bring him on a visit to Philadelphia. The Eagles are consistent when it comes to having players come to Philly. They do tend to draft these guys. So with the guys that they bring to Philly, the 30 that you're going to look at, they're going to be drafting those guys.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. You know, you're right there, Adrian. I could see the fit. I mean, I could talk myself into why I see Sutton being an Eagles fit. You look at a guy like Alshon, it's a great guy to groom him. He's going to be really, really good in the locker room because of that situation. But I also could talk myself out of it. And I could say, you already have Alshon Jeffrey. Why would you want another one? Maybe you want a guy who's a little bit different than him. It's like some of the other receivers we're going to review today. So is he a fit for the Eagles? Sure. But I could talk myself in or out of it for the same exact reason.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley, considered by most to be the number one wide receiver prospect, is Courtland Sutton number 2.
It's close. DJ Moore's another guy I have close in there. You know, depending on how you feel about upside, you might like a guy like DJ Shark more than those other two. It's close. I think Ridley is the most NFL ready because of the NFL route tree. So ultimately, I think he's going to be drafted first because I think he's the safest of all of them. But you know what? In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I could see these other guys surpassing him too.
All right. That's Brennan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedke. We're out. Peace.
Appreciate it.